We back, baby. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss a thing. You are now tuned into the system behind the system. Welcome back to the Neo DaVinci Show. And on this episode, we're going to discuss designing the future of aesthetic differentiation. To elaborate artistically on this topic, I'm bringing a master designer in the fitness industry by the name of Cuoco Black. He is changing the game, and I mean completely changing the trend when it comes to design for gyms and fitness studios all across the world. So buckle up your seatbelts and let's get ready to design the future of aesthetic differentiation. So from one designer to another, I've been really following your work and admire a lot of the projects that you've brought into the gym world, the fitness world. And you have like a really futuristic mindset about your work. Yeah. Right there. So if you don't mind, I've never asked you this question. How did you get started doing what you're doing?
Um, I was studying interior design in New York City in a school that I really wanted to get into. It was one of the top in the world, and I got into the school. So,
What school was that?
New York School of Interior Design. And as a
Nice.
kid, when I was like 15, 16 years old, is it okay if my cat enters the conversation? She's mad at me.
That's fine.
Um, So when I was young, I was totally into, my mom was into designing our house. And so when I was 15, 16, I started playing around with design stuff. And I said, eventually, when I got older, I went to design school. And when I got out of design school in New York City, oh, I'm going to be a designer. And one day I was in a crunch on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. That's where I was in New York City. And I was in
Okay.
the gym. I was in the Crunch gym. It was like a satellite club. And I go, man, this design's terrible. I said, why don't I take my interior design, background and degree and everything and start designing gyms? And that's how I started. And it was very funny because found there was like a trade show when I first started, like the first month, 6 months, I found there was a trade show in San
Hmm.
Francisco for the fitness industry. And I went to the trade show and I set up a booth. I put all this cool stuff in there. And my first customer was Crunch. So it was really cool. And there were like gym owners and gym brands and equipment suppliers from the trade show. And that's kind of how I got started.
A lot of the projects I've
Mhm.
seen have been very different than what you see in the fitness industry right now.
Hmm.
And I remember when I first met you, I was like, now that's something special. That's what I'm talking about. Like that futuristic design. I was all for it. And it's just very different. But I want to hear from you. What is aesthetic differentiation mean to you?
Well, one of the things I've done is because I have a pulse on the fitness industry, I I,
Hmm.
I kind of watch, and I always have watched what the fitness industry is doing. And over time, I've sort of realized that the fitness industry is doing one of two different designs. They're either doing gym designs that look like
Hmm.
gyms, and it could be, for example, a Planet Fitness, a big box gym. It could be a CrossFit gym, personal training gym, local mom and pop gym, and they all kind of look the same. They look like gyms, green
Right.
astroturf with line markings,
Yeah.
the Home Depot lighting. So I found, okay, many people are doing those kinds of gyms. And then there was another whole, what I'll call a silo or column of other gym designs. And these were the Equinoxes and the Soul
Hmm.
Cycles and the gyms that look like boutique hotels. So I
Hmm.
realized that there were two tiers and everybody was doing one or the other. And I said, hey, there's an opportunity here. Let's do something that neither one of these guys are doing. And that's how I sort of first positioned myself to start creating these futuristic, highly branded, one of a kind gyms.
So what are some of those different things that you're highlighting in your work?
Well, here's the first thing. What people do, what a gym owner or developer who wants to start a gym, what do? They go onto the internet, they go to Google, and they do a hashtag image search for gym design. And what do they get? They get gyms that look, as I described, gyms that look like gyms, or gyms that look like boutique. I'm going to call that boutique hotels,
Yeah.
hospitality design. Like I said, Equinox and Soul Cycle, all those gyms that look like restaurants and condominiums. And I said to the developers when I started working with them, I said, guys, if you're going to be doing what everybody else is doing, you're just going to be part of a trend, either one of
Mm.
those trends. I said, what you need to do is you have to come up with your own branding, your own IP, intellectual property, your own
Keyword.
your own aesthetics that are inspired. Now, here's the real pivot.
Yeah.
This is the core of what I'm helping gym owners do. I ask them a question when I first meet them, and I say to them, if you could build the gym that you would love of your dreams that had nothing
Hmm.
to do with anybody, what anyone else was doing, could it be inspired by some movie, Hollywood movie you saw, or a spaceship, or a race car, or something really cool? And
Mm.
that's the pivot point, because what I'm helping gym owners do is identify something inside of them that
Mm.
inspires them. And then from that idea, for example, the center gym here up above me,
Yeah.
the owner said, I saw this movie with Mila Jovovich. It was a science fiction movie. It was real futuristic. And I love that movie. And I would love my gym to look like that. And that's the spark that ignites doing a different type of gym, because you're inspired by a concept instead of a gym that looks like a gym or a gym that looks like a boutique hotel. And then we do the interior design, the aesthetics, the color schemes, the logos, the lighting, everything around the concept and not around what the trends are.
How do you think some gym owners or just gyms have kind of followed that same pattern and just replicated what everyone's doing?
Yeah, it's easy. What they do is they can go on the internet, and for example, I'm going to give you a perfect example, and
Hmm.
everyone knows this. All of your listeners will know this. Gym owners go online and they want to do lighting in their gym. So instead of hiring a pro, what they do is they say, oh, I'm going to do that design, but I'm going to make it my own. I'm going to do
Mm.
my style of that design. All they're doing is taking a design that everybody else is doing and putting a little twist on it. For example, the hexagon lighting fixtures.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you familiar with the hexagon
Oh
lighting
yeah, you see
fixtures?
them a lot right now.
Man, they're in pizza parlors, and they're auto shops, and they're video arcades, and they're every gym, and everybody's going, oh, look at my lighting design. I'm like, dude, man, there's like 10,000 of these out there. It has nothing to do
Mm.
with your brand. So it's easy for a gym owner to go on the internet and copy what everybody else is doing. And what you end up with, and it doesn't matter if it's a gym that looks like a gym or a gym that looks like a boutique hotel, what the owners do is they take the pieces from either one of those, whichever ones they want to do, they put it into their gym, and it ends up being exactly like what everyone else is doing in that tier. And I call that gym better sameness. That's why they do. It's easy, and
Gotcha.
they don't want to do the hard thing. And the hardest thing to do is find the right person to do a gym. I'm not saying hire me, but what I'm saying is, if you go online and see a lady decorator and saying this is the way you should design a gym, and you hire a lady decorator, your gym's going to look like a hotel or a restaurant or condominium. If you hire a muscle guy to design your gym, he's going to do red and black, or a black gym with AstroTurf with line markings in and Home Depot lighting. It's the easy way to go. And the hard way to go is what
Mm.
you're going to do and what we're doing with the developers I'm working with.
I love it. And I've always found the hard way is the way that usually pays off the best. So it sounds like instead of gym owners going and, searching up online and finding inspiration from the next gym, you're helping them pull that out from within themselves. And what does your brand look like? What is inspiration from inside of you based on who you are, and you bring that out at a high quality level.
Right. What we do is we take their idea and then remember, I'm a pro designer. I got a degree from one of the best schools in the world. I lived in New York City. I traveled all over the world. So I have this filter. I know what design is, but the key is not to do what I like. I take the gym owner's ideas and say, okay, here's some ideas how we can take your concept, and then we bring in amazing materials. And that's one of the
Mhm.
my other sort of, I guess, bag of tricks is
Mhm.
I have behind me is a perfect example. I have all these resources of the most innovative design materials from all over the world that I source from
Mhm.
the aerospace industry, the transportation industry, the chemical industry. I have all these materials that come from outside what people typically do in the gym industry. So I incorporate these
I
a
love
lot
it.
of them are
Love
futuristic
it.
materials and things into that person's ideas of what he wants his gym to be like. And I marry those together, the concepts of the gym owner, but making a really, my skill set is design and bringing in these materials that make something that no one else has.
Man, so those materials kind of function as your palette of colors, and you dip it a little, the paintbrush a little here, and go there, and then maybe a little over there. Oh man, you're a master. I love it.
Yeah, so some people call me an alchemist or a magician, but that's okay. I just love helping. I love kicking my competitors' butts.
Of
I
course.
feel I don't have a competitor, and then I love helping the gym owners I'm working with upstage their competition. I have gym owners saying, "This guy here, this story up here, this is a gym
Hmm.
in Worcester, and
Stronger PT.
yeah, Stronger PT. That's Frank
Hmm.
Nash." And when I met Frank, he walks up to me. The first thing he said to me, he walked up, he said, "I want my gym to be 1,000 years ahead of everyone else."
That's
And
the way to
so
think.
and I was like impressed because he's thinking marketing. He's not a gym bro. He's thinking marketing. How does he compete against his competitors? And it was his gym where he had this idea for this movie called Ultraviolet with Mila Jovovich. It was really
Hmm.
futuristic dystopian. So I made the design of his gym with all the futuristic materials and his
Hmm.
concept into this amazing space. And as soon as we finished the reception area, which is this picture, and if you want to show people
Hmm.
pictures on my Instagram page, this reception lobby, a prospect who was looking for a gym came into his reception area. And this is when we had just finished. And the prospect standing there and he's looking around. He's going, "This is amazing." And Frank said, "Hey, listen, I have a lot of competitors. Take your time, go look around, compare their gyms to my gyms." And the guy said, "I feel like I'm in a spaceship." He goes, "I don't want to go anywhere else." And boom, that's it. That's what you want.
It just sounds like he stepped in and said, "This is different." And then that inspiration that came from Frank now was inspiring the other guy and changed how he was feeling when he stepped into the space. How do you feel design changes that perception and that vibe and that feeling when someone steps into a space like that?
Well, what happens is what we're doing, what you should be doing, and what I do when I try to help the owners do is to think like Walt Disney.
Mm.
Walt Disney created amazing theme parks, parks that when
Mhm.
you're there, you're transported into another world. And so, what I'm trying to do is on a smaller level, create these environments that when people come in, they lose track of what's happening outside. They just want to be in that space and they want to be there for their 45 minutes or hour for their working out. And that's one of the other components of what I'm trying to do is to make the
Mhm.
designs of the gyms inspirational. It's like, wow, man, I love the music, and this place is like cool working out like at Disney, versus a gym that looks like another hotel or a restaurant, or gym that looks like a CrossFit gym with concrete block walls. And so, to get to you answer your point, the idea is to immerse the consumer in this fitness environment that transports them, takes them out of their homes, like
Man,
Howard Schultz said, is like Starbucks is the third place after work home. It's Starbucks is like a place where people wanted to go. Well, I say the gyms we're doing are the fourth place
there it
after
goes.
work, home, and Starbucks are the gyms that we're creating.
And as a gym owner myself, like I understand, my clients. It's tough going to the gym, especially if you're not a gym person. It's like, I gotta do this because I want to work on my health. But when you have a space that just feels good to be in and the experience is amazing, okay, we're gonna do some squats and we're gonna lift some dumbbells and kettlebells. But when you feel good there, it just makes it so much easier to show up every day and be excited about it. I think that's one of the key things that you're helping gym owners bring out, and you probably are doing that intentionally, right?
Yeah, well, it's the Walt Disney concept, is like create these experiences that people don't want to leave. And I had another gym in Ohio, and we had done the gym. It was this red and black color scheme, and it was real futuristic, and it had the guy liked Asian culture, and we
Hmm.
incorporated what I call a Chinese moon gate. We made this huge red arch that when you walked into the entry, and I went to the grand opening party, and I was standing there with the owner, and one of the members who had just joined came up to me. He said, "You're the guy who designed this space. I'm going to tell you, I don't want to leave this place."
Love it.
That's it.
Yes. And
Neo,
that's the
that's it.
reaction we want to see as gym owners.
That's it.
Like,
Not only that, you could charge more money for it because no one else is doing it.
exactly. And, when you step into a space like that, it's it feels a little more luxurious. And luxury's changing these days, right? With all the new ways of designing and the capabilities we have to design. I mean, I'm sure with all the paints you have in your palette, all the materials and all that good stuff. There's there's more ways to design. What does the future of luxury look like, especially pertaining to a gym design?
Oh, well, that's really interesting because there's a big wellness push now in luxury boutique hotels, condominiums, luxury resorts, and they're very nice. I'm not sort of criticizing what I called earlier the two tiers: gyms that look like
Hmm.
gyms or gyms that look like
Well,
boutique
we're stepping into the
hotels.
future. We're evolving,
Well,
so the gym industry is probably going to evolve, especially if you keep putting out gyms like this.
Well, I'm sort of like a thin filter in a big sort of world. So I'm going to explain a little bit where I'm sort of as the tip of the spear of what
Hmm.
I believe where gym design is heading is futurism. All my designs, if you look at them, they all look like they're from outer space. As I said, the guy who walked into Frank's gym said, "I feel like I'm in a spaceship." I hear this all the time. And so, as a little kid, I was exposed to cartoon TV shows like the Jetsons, and my grandmother had these metallic, futuristic, anodized aluminum cups, and
Yeah.
then I had these toys with glitter, and there's all this space age stuff from the 50s and 60s. And then Hollywood started doing all these futuristic movies. And and being in New York City, I've been exposed to really the cutting edge of futurism, and it's evolving in around us. I mean, look at the Cybertruck.
Right.
Look at, for example, fashion and music. There's so much futurism that's
In
coming
in
into the
design and
world.
art across the board, yeah.
Yeah, and there's so much of that futurism, and the fitness industry, except for me, haven't linked up with that. So I'm linking up with that and using that as sort of again, the launch of some of the gyms that I'm helping gym owners build. So it's
Amazing.
futurism.
Luxury is more than just, status and price, right? That's still involved in that as well, but you can have a luxurious space
Thank you.
where it's futuristic, it feels great, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about status and price. I think primarily it is about design and how design is evolving. What are some of the things that you've seen evolve when it comes to design, in interior design, just as a whole?
Well, there's a lot of elements and they overlap in sort of the skill set is to integrate and meld thread everything together. And so there's you can do futuristic lighting and futuristic furniture. For example, some
Mm.
people who follow me see some of the, let's call it reception desk when you walk to a gym. The reception desks at the gym owners that I'm working with are very futuristic. They're like futuristic sculpture. And then the finishes that we put on top of the desk are futuristic finishes. And the materials that the floor that the desk is sitting on is very futuristic, like space age materials. And the lighting fixtures, we do very futuristic lighting design. Everybody says, Cuoco, you're a master at the lighting design. I said, actually, the lighting isn't the trick. What's around the lighting, the materials, the reflection, the
Mm.
colors, the transparency, all of these other elements of the materials. You see what I'm saying? It's a
Mm-hmm.
homogenized mixture. I'm Italian, of all these things coming together. So you can create a luxury gym brand without looking like another boutique hotel or an Equinox. I have nothing against Equinox, but it's just hospitality design. Every wellness retreat, all these wellness places coming up that you do recovering, it's wood slat walls and plants and it's brown and it's chill and vibe. And you can create that chill and vibe futuristic luxury
Mm.
element without looking like another hotel. You just have to do it differently. And it's kind of hard for me to communicate that in writing because it's more of an execution on the design elements that become part of the interior environment.
Love it. Sounds like a high level of attention to detail. And, my favorite word comes to mind is precision. You've got this nailed down with precision, from the lighting to what that lighting is shining on and how the relationship between the two, interact. I think it's amazing. And I'm definitely one to appreciate good design. So you've got it down packed, man.
When I first got into the gym industry, I tried to work with all the big guys like Gold's Gym and Planet Fitness when I first got in, and nobody wanted to hire me because I was new. I didn't have any background. And so I ended up having to work with individual small gym owners. But what's happened is everybody's been seeing my progress over the years. And I got a call from one of the former owners of Planet Fitness, and I'm doing now my first big box gym that is going to really change,
Good.
again, a major change across the fitness industry for a big box gym, because what they've done is they've tapped in to what I've been talking about in your podcast here is like, how do we take all this concept and these futuristic materials and create a brand IP. And we're doing the most amazing big box gym. The first one's going to open in Dover, New Hampshire in October of this year. And there's going to be 500 of them going across the country. And this is going to be a
Love it.
big change for the fitness industry. And remember, this former founder of Planet Fitness, his son is doing it. His name is Justin Grandal, and
Mm.
the father, Mike Grondal, was a co-founder of Planet
Mm.
Fitness. They have the expertise and knowledge how to build 500 of these clubs, and it's coming, and it's going to be put a big dent into what everybody is doing, which is looks like a gym or looks like a boutique hotel. So now we've got up in the market, we're really rising in sort of the worldview of what's going to happen to the fitness industry. We're right at the edge.
Things are evolving, Cuoco, and you're leading the way. I love it. How do you feel the person like responds to color, lighting, different design material? What is the psychological aspect behind that?
Yeah, you're triggering emotional responses in people's minds. Now, remember what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to tie into the experience that Walt Disney created every time he built his parks and all. If you've been there, it's just an amazing being at any part of any of his parks. It's just a great emotional experience, endorphins. And so I'm doing that in a minor way at the gyms that we're building. And I
Mm.
just have another client, we just built a gym, and he told me a customer drove. No one drives a half hour to go to the gym. They try to go to the gym that's 7 or 10 minutes
Yeah.
away. Well, this customer drove a half hour to get to this gym because she said there's nothing like this in the marketplace and it's beautiful. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to touch on beauty and inspiration and futurism. So it's really as human beings, we're driven towards beauty. We like beautiful things. That's why we work out. We want to look attractive. And so I really think this is about touching people in on an emotional level. And that's what we're trying to do.
So what are one of the things that are like one of the most cutting edge aspects of design and where things are evolving to?
Well, right now I'm working on 3D printed design concepts for a couple of clients as we're speaking. So I'm tapping into some of that technology, maybe a little bit of AI, not too much. I don't like to rely on that.
Mhm.
But I'm also sort of combining 3D printing technology with new innovative finishes, thermal forming. So I'm
Mm.
applying, I play in sort of the art industry
Mhm.
in product development. I've done all of those things. And so I'm starting to integrate other technologies, manufacturing technologies into the materials and the designs of the gyms that I'm working on. So that's starting to happen as well.
Nice. How do you feel AI is changing the game for design for
I
just
don't
as a
think it's
whole?
important at all. I think it's a non-event. That's it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, because the design still lives with the artist, you know? AI
Yeah,
can't really
and
create that.
I look at what they do with AI for gym design. It's a joke. So what's AI doing? It's going on Google, it's going on the internet, and it's looking up gym design. Well, guess what it comes up with? A gym that looks like a gym, and it's like some version of a turf with lines, or it looks like a boutique hotel. That's what AI does. It's just doing what everybody else is doing in the gym industry. Looks like a gym or looks like a boutique hotel. So AI is a non-event as far as I'm concerned
Love
in the
it.
gym design industry.
I completely agree. You know, I feel like AI can maybe speed some of the things up that we do as an artist,
Mm-hmm.
but innovation truly lives with the artist. We are the ones that innovate and create and design. What has been one of the hardest like projects that you've done and or one of the hardest aspects of design that you've brought about?
One of the hardest aspects is when I'm working with an owner, and let's say, for example, this new gym that I'm working on for the former owners of Planet Fitness for Justin Grandal, is to sit
Mhm.
with a gym owner and his financial guy and the contractors and introduce design concepts they've never seen before. And
Mhm.
so what's happening is they sit there, and I'm not saying this is a negative, but the financial guy is always, well, how much is that going to cost? And the
Right.
contractors, well, it's how are we going to build that? So there's tons of resistance to get through the roadblocks or the preconceived conceptions of a team of developers and builders and finance guys, is to get through that friction of what they're so used to seeing, to
Right.
show them that we can move beyond that. And it's awesome because exactly what happened on the project I'm doing $25 million up in New Hampshire that's coming later this year. And it's just amazing because I found ways to do these amazing futuristic designs on
Yeah.
a reasonable budget that you can't, that you like this is really reasonable. So you can really spend, like you see people on the internet boasting, oh, look at my $10 million gym. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you spent $10 million on that? It looks like every other gym out there. And what we're doing is for the same amount of whatever these bigger brands are building with the money that they're building using that
Mhm.
match that, they look like the gyms that we're working on look like they're 1,000 years ahead of what all these other guys are doing. So that's kind of part of the skill set that I have is I know the tricks of manufacturing and the materials, how to cut it, how to value engineer. So I have a lot of, how can I say, again, it's hard to translate what I do in the design because they're skills, like Liam Neeson says, that I've
Mhm.
learned over the years, and the tricks and the manufacturing and the trades and the materials and how to put that all together. So it's a hard, solid answer to make.
Nice. And that goes to show why it's easier for a gym just to look like other gyms because you can predict. You're like, all right, well, this worked. This is how much it cost. We were able to build it and we made money, and we could sell the product. And when you're trying to innovate, it's like, well, what do you base this off of? What example do we have? We don't have a comparison for this. It's a little uneasy for the financial guy and for the builder and even for the gym owner, but as a designer and innovator like yourself, you've really got to push hard and bring that about. And I know what that's like. I've had to do it in just the work that I do inside the gym with coaching and the exercise choice and new information and kind of bringing that innovation out. So it's tough innovating, like you said earlier. It's easy to just kind of replicate what has always worked. How do you feel you can be more strategic, or we could be more strategic to bring out that innovation? Any ideas?
Yeah, it's the communication explaining to, and the perfect example is when I was working with the former founders of Planet Fitness, I was making a presentation to the group, and the owner, Mike Grandal, came and he sat next to me. He was in the other part of the presentation. He came around and
Hmm.
sat next to me and he listened carefully to my arguments and
Hmm.
how I explained, listen, this is what everybody's doing. And I showed them the concepts. This is how we can do this concept. These are the materials. This is what you can expect. And I says, when you come out on the other side of this, you're going to have something that no one else has. And it takes a shrewd developer to put their ego aside and to trust the consultant who's making an argument for doing something different. That's a risk. And it's been amazing because, again, when you see the outcome of what we're building, it's going to be evident that this is the future. And so I, I, I may tell gym developers to heed my advice, not to be in fear,
Hmm.
but to listen carefully. What I'm trying to help them to do is to transcend and jump above all the competitors in your marketplace.
What is a word of advice you could give to anyone who wants to do more like original work in the gym and just in general?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is don't go on the internet and do a Google search for gym design. That would be the first recommendation that I would make for that. The second thing is I would think carefully deep inside of something that gets you excited. Like, did you ever, when you were young, have a toy, a spaceship, or a doll, or a book, a fantasy book, or a movie that you saw, and think, if I could really, I had a guy I've worked with for World Gym, and we were developing a new concept for World Gym. And I said to him, I said, Jared, this is Jared Sirocco, the health
Mhm.
club doctor. I said, and he was the COO at World Gym. And he goes, Cuoco, I've listened to what you said. I have an idea. You tell me what you think. And so I'm leading to answer your question here is not to do what everybody else is doing. He goes, there's a Dodge Hellcat. Hellfire. Is it the Hellcat?
Okay, yeah, I think
Hellcat?
so.
Yeah. The Dodge Hellcat, which was a muscle car, and it was
Hmm.
really futuristic, black and red with all these amazing geometries. And we designed the prototype for a new World Gym based on the Hellcat car.
Mm.
So my argument is to come up with some original concept in your mind if you want to develop a new gym, because otherwise you're going to end up competing against people in your marketplace who are doing kind of the same thing that everybody else is doing. And you're just better sameness, what I call gym better sameness.
Love it. It takes a lot of courage to really push forward with innovation. And so I always admire anyone who's driving, creating the future. What are some of the signatures in design that you carry and that you have in your work?
There's the single thread, I think the two single threads that sort of define our work are two things. I should say three: color schemes, architectural geometries, materials, all related to futuristic gyms. So when you look at
Right.
our gyms, Matthew Janusk, I think it is from Escape Fitness, he says, anytime I see a gym I know that you've done, I know exactly that you're the guy who designed that. So there's these core competencies and design elements that unite what I call a gestalt: lighting, materials, colors, and branding, and futurism, and they all come together with unique gym concepts.
Nice. I truly believe this is the future of gym design and what a gym space will look like, especially knowing like when someone steps in there, they just feel good. That emotion comes out, they're getting inspired, and it makes them want to be in there, you know?
Yeah.
Well, give me just like a few things that you see happening over time as more gyms like this come out.
Well, one of the things that I noticed is that some of, let's call them influencer or people on the internet in the gym sphere are starting to align with my arguments about lighting design and materials and colors.
Hmm.
So I've seen a guy who came on the internet and said, these hexagon lighting fixtures, we've been doing these for 5 years. He goes, they're finished. And so what's happening is the internet is sort of democratizing all the trends, and people are starting to notice the things that I've been saying
Yeah.
10 years ago when it was really
Yeah.
lonely and nobody was listening to me.
That's innovation right there.
Yeah.
That's what
And so what's
happens.
happening is people are recognizing that the trends are not the future of the gym design, that you have to rise above all the trends. I think that's what's happening. People are recognizing the trends. And I'm happy to be sort of at the front of that push. And, I kind of made a lot of enemies. A lot of people don't like what I have to say. There's envy or anger or sort of pushback
Hmm.
against what I'm saying, and that's
Hmm.
fine. Somebody said if you don't have haters, you're not saying anything important. But I'm not doing it to hurt anybody. What I'm trying to do is help the gym owners that I'm working with to stand above their competition. To stand out. As a matter of fact, Frank Nash, when we built
Hmm.
his gym and redid it, he put an Anytime Fitness out of business that was around the corner from him. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to hurt the Anytime Fitness, but I'm trying to help the developers I'm working with win.
And I think you're definitely doing that. So to finish off here, what do you feel the key to aesthetic differentiation is?
I almost have to think about that. I think a gym owner, a gym developer needs to park their ego, park their expectations, park their experiences of what they've seen in the fitness industry and recalibrate, start from zero and say, what's another way that I can approach this process? And I think that it's a resetting, a recalibration, starting from, let's say, ground zero before you start to launch into develop a new gym project. That's key because you have to dump everything that you've had in your mind from the past. That's finished. The green AstroTurf with line markings, the luxury marble on reception desk and tufted furniture and chandeliers in the boutique gyms, and the Home Depot lighting and the muscle gyms and the graffiti and the muscle guys on the wall. That's finished.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I definitely enjoyed this episode with you. There's more for us to talk offline, but where can people follow you on the social, and where's your website?
Well, I make it really easy. People are so pushed to go to Twitter and websites and Instagram and LinkedIn. I just have an Instagram page and I put really great stuff there. It's over 6,000 posts. And it's one word, gym designer. That's it, gym
Easy.
designer. If anybody wants to look, you can see what we're doing there.
So there you have it. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Things are certainly changing for fitness industry design. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Make sure to go check us out at DaVinciEngineer.com. And I will see you next week on the Neo DaVinci Show.